A millionaire visited an orphanage, just hoping to make a simple donation. But what he found shattered his entire world. In the middle of a crowded playroom, he spotted two little girls and realized they were the twin daughters he'd lost 6 years ago in a devastating fire. How did they survive? Who kept them hidden for all these years? And what dark secrets were buried along with his past? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. And if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. The crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over the elegant ballroom of the Grand Plaza Hotel. Men in crisp tuxedos and women draped in designer gowns mingled, their laughter echoing off marble floors. Liam Cross stood alone near a Roman-style pillar, his fingers wrapped around a glass of untouched scotch. He watched the crowd with detached interest. These corporate galas were all the same, a sea of fake smiles and calculated conversations. A waiter passed by with a tray of champagne, and Liam shook his head slightly when offered a glass. "Liam, there you are," Marcus Wheeler, one of his senior board members, approached with his signature broad smile. "You're not hiding from us, are you?" "Just observing," Liam replied, his voice carrying its usual cool tone. Marcus chuckled, adjusting his bow tie. Always the strategist. "But you know, the papers are starting to notice how reserved Cross Industries has become lately. The company needs a warmer image." Liam's jaw tightened imperceptibly. "Our profit margins speak for themselves. Numbers aren't everything these days." Marcus pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. "Actually, I've been meaning to mention, we've partnered with the St. Agnes Children's Home for some tax benefits. It might be good PR if you paid them a visit." The mention of children made Liam's chest constrict. He took a small sip of scotch, letting the burn distract him from memories he'd rather forget. "I don't think that's necessary." Marcus' friendly expression shifted slightly, becoming more calculated. "You know, I remember Evelyn once mentioned wanting to work with disadvantaged children. She had such a big heart." The glass in Liam's hand trembled slightly at the mention of his wife's name. The ache that followed was familiar, like an old wound that never quite healed properly. "Fine," Liam said curtly. "Set it up." The next afternoon, Liam's sleek black car pulled up to St. Agnes Children's Home. The building was a stark contrast to the previous night's glamour, a 3-story Victorian structure with peeling grey paint and windows that had seen better days. Dead leaves skittered across the cracked concrete path leading to the entrance. Mrs. Peterson, the head caretaker, greeted him with enthusiasm that seemed out of place in such a dreary setting. She was a plump woman in her 60s, wearing a cardigan with worn elbows and a warm smile that Liam didn't return. "We're so honored to have you visit, Mr. Cross," she gushed, leading him through dim hallways. The walls were decorated with children's artwork, bright splashes of color against faded wallpaper. "The donation from Cross Industries has helped us repair the roof and update some of our facilities." Liam nodded absently, keeping a careful distance as they passed playrooms full of children. Their laughter echoed through the halls, a sound that made his chest feel too tight. He checked his watch, already calculating how soon he could leave without appearing rude. "And this is our playground," Mrs. Peterson said, pushing open a heavy door that led to a small courtyard. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the sound of children playing. Liam stayed near the door, half listening to Mrs. Peterson's explanation of their outdoor programs. His attention drifted to the far corner of the playground where two girls were playing hopscotch. The smaller one jumped, her dark curls bouncing as she landed perfectly in each chalk square. Her older companion clapped, and the sound of their shared laughter reached across the playground. Liam's heart stopped. The older girl turned, and for a moment, he saw Evelyn smile, the same curve of lips, the same dimple in her left cheek. The younger one had his wife's eyes, large and expressive, filled with a joy he hadn't seen in years. "Mr. Cross, are you all right?" Mrs. Peterson touched his arm gently. "You've gone quite pale." Liam couldn't speak. His throat had closed up, and his hands were trembling. He forced himself to take a steady breath, years of business training helping him maintain his composure. Those two girls, he managed, his voice rougher than usual. The ones playing hopscotch. Oh, Leah and Emma, Mrs. Peterson smiled fondly. They're wonderful children. Been with us for quite a while now. Liam's pulse thundered in his ears. How long? Let me think, Mrs. Peterson tapped her chin. They came to us right after that big fire downtown years ago. Poor things were found wandering near the scene. No one ever claimed them. The world tilted on its axis. Liam gripped the doorframe, his knuckles white. The big fire downtown, the same fire that had supposedly claimed his wife and daughters. The same fire that had left him with nothing but ashes and unanswered questions. I need to leave, he said abruptly, cutting off Mrs. Peterson's continued narrative about the girl's arrival. But Mr. Cross, we haven't finished the tour. Something's come up, his voice was still, brooking no argument. Thank you for your time. He turned sharply, his expensive shoes clicking against the worn linoleum as he strode through the hallways. Behind him, he could still hear the girls' laughter, a sound that followed him all the way to his car. As his driver pulled away from St. Agnes, Liam stared unseeing through the tinted windows. Mrs. Peterson's casual words echoed in his mind, right after that big fire downtown years ago. His hands clenched into fists in his lap, his carefully constructed world threatening to unravel with each passing moment. The rest of the city passed by in a blur, but Liam saw nothing except those familiar smiles, those achingly familiar eyes. His mind raced with possibilities he'd never allowed himself to consider, questions he'd buried beneath years of grief and guilt. The study was dark except for a single desk lamp, its warm glow falling across scattered photographs. Liam sat in his leather chair, a crystal tumbler of scotch in one hand, while the other traced the edge of a faded picture. Evelyn's radiant smile beamed up at him, her hospital gown wrinkled as she cradled two tiny bundles. His fingers trembled slightly as he lifted the photograph closer. The twins had been so small, their faces scrunched and pink. Leah had come first, already showing hints of Evelyn's features. Emma had followed minutes later, smaller but fierce, her tiny fist raised as if ready to take on the world. More photos lay spread across his mahogany desk, first steps, first words, first everything, all carefully documented until that terrible night 6 years ago. Liam took a long drink of scotch, letting the burn chase away the tightness in his throat. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through his contacts until he found the number he needed. It rang 3 times before a deep voice answered. Marcus Reed speaking. Marcus, it's Liam Cross, he paused, gathering his thoughts. I need your expertise on a delicate matter. There was a slight shuffle on the other end. I'm listening. How soon can you meet me? I can be there in 30 minutes. True to his word, Marcus arrived exactly 30 minutes later. The security team escorted him to Liam's study, where he settled into one of the leather chairs across from the desk. He was a solid man in his 50s, with graying temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Liam pushed 2 photographs across the desk, one of the twins at age 4, the last photo taken before the fire, and another of Evelyn holding them as newborns. I need you to look into something, Liam said, his voice controlled despite the storm brewing inside him. There are 2 girls at St. Agnes Children's Home. Their names are Leah and Emma. Marcus picked up the photographs, studying them carefully. You think they're connected to these pictures? They arrived at the orphanage right after the downtown fire 6 years ago. Liam's knuckles whitened around his glass. The same fire that supposedly killed my family. Marcus set the photos down, his expression turning serious. What exactly do you want me to investigate? Everything, Liam stood, pacing behind his desk. Origin records, DNA possibilities, the fire incident, every detail about how they ended up at St. Agnes. Something doesn't add up. You understand this kind of investigation takes time. Marcus pulled out a small notebook. And discretion will be crucial. Money isn't an issue, Liam stopped pacing, fixing Marcus with an intense stare. But time might be. I need to maintain contact with the orphanage while you investigate. That could be risky, Marcus warned. If anyone suspects. I've already thought of that, Liam returned to his chair. Cross Industries will increase its charitable involvement with St. Agnes. It's a perfect cover for regular visits. The next morning, Liam called Mrs. Peterson to arrange another visit. His voice was carefully modulated as he expressed interest in establishing a more substantial partnership between his company and the orphanage. 3 days later, he stood in Mrs. Peterson's cramped office, signing paperwork for a significant donation. Through the window, he could see the playground where children gathered during their afternoon break. Mr. Cross, this is incredibly generous, Mrs. Peterson beamed, shuffling the papers. Would you like another tour? Perhaps meet some of the children? Actually, Liam adjusted his tie, I'd like to spend some time observing the children to better understand their needs. Mrs. Peterson's face lit up. Of course. We could start with the older group. They're having art class right now. Liam followed her down the hallway, his heart pounding as they approached the classroom. Inside, children sat at round tables surrounded by colorful art supplies. His eyes immediately found them, Leia and Emma, sharing a table near the window. Emma was focused intently on her drawing, her tongue sticking out slightly in concentration, just like Evelyn used to do. Leia helped a younger child at their table, showing the same patient kindness that had made his wife such a wonderful mother. The similarities were overwhelming. Every gesture, every laugh seemed to echo with memories he'd tried to bury. That evening, as Liam sat in his home office reviewing contracts, his phone buzzed. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. What did you find? Liam answered without preamble. Inconsistencies, Marcus replied, his voice low and serious. The hospital records from the night of the fire don't match the relocation documents at St. Agnes. Dates are off by several days, and some signatures appear to be from doctors who weren't even on staff at the time. Liam's grip tightened on his phone. What else? The fire investigation report is full of holes. Key witnesses were never properly interviewed, and crucial evidence appears to have been mishandled. Marcus paused. Liam, this wasn't just sloppy paperwork. Someone went to a lot of trouble to create these inconsistencies. We need proof, Liam said, his mind racing. Concrete evidence. I suggest we start with DNA testing. It would be the most definitive way to confirm your suspicions. Marcus's voice dropped even lower. But getting samples from the girls without raising alarms will be tricky. Liam stood, walking to his window to stare out at the city lights. I'll handle that part. Set up whatever we need for the testing, but keep it completely confidential. Understood. I'll make arrangements with a private lab I trust. Marcus cleared his throat. Liam, if these girls are who you think they are. One step at a time, Liam cut him off, not ready to fully confront that possibility. I'll visit the orphanage again tomorrow. Have everything ready. After ending the call, Liam returned to his desk and pulled out the photograph of Evelyn and the twins, his jaw set with determination as he studied their faces. 6 years of believing they were gone. 6 years of unanswered questions. Whatever the truth was, he would find it. He reached for his phone again, already planning his next visit to St. Agnes. This time, he would arrive during lunch hour when the children would be eating. It would be the perfect opportunity to collect what they needed without drawing attention. The morning sun cast long shadows across St. Agnes' worn brick walls as Liam pulled into the parking lot. His usual polished suit was replaced with worn jeans and a plain button-down shirt. A toolbox rattled in the passenger seat, and the sweet smell of fresh-baked cookies wafted from a paper bag on the dashboard. Mrs. Peterson met him at the entrance, her eyes widening at his casual appearance. Mr. Cross, this is unexpected. Please call me Liam, he said, offering a warm smile. I thought I could help with some repairs while I observed the children. My father taught me everything about fixing things. The lie came easily, practiced in front of his mirror that morning. Oh, that's wonderful, Mrs. Peterson clasped her hands together. We've had a broken swing for weeks, and the maintenance budget. Say no more, Liam hefted his toolbox. Point me in the right direction. As he worked on the playground, children gathered to watch. The familiar weight of tools in his hands helped steady his nerves while he tightened bolts and tested chains. A small crowd formed, their curious whispers carrying across the playground. He brought cookies. Look how fast he fixed it. Can we try it now? Liam glanced up, catching sight of two particular faces in the crowd. Emma stood at the front, practically bouncing with excitement, while Leia hung back slightly, watching him with thoughtful eyes. His heart skipped a beat, but he kept his movement steady. Almost done, he announced, giving the swing one final check. Who wants to test it out? Emma's hand shot up first. Me. I want to. Liam stepped back, watching as she scrambled onto the swing. Her delighted squeals as she pumped higher and higher made his throat tight with emotion. Other children quickly lined up for their turn, and he distributed cookies while they waited. These are really good, a quiet voice said beside him. Leia stood there, carefully nibbling on a chocolate chip cookie. Did you make them? My housekeeper did, Liam admitted. She's much better at baking than I am. I like baking, Leia said, brushing crumbs from her dress. Sometimes Mrs. Peterson lets us help in the kitchen. Emma swooped past on the swing, her hair flying. Leia, you have to try this. It's not wobbly anymore. The morning passed quickly as Liam moved from one small repair to another. He fixed a sticky door hinge, replaced some loose floorboards, and even managed to get an old radio working again. All the while, he noticed how the twins kept finding reasons to stay nearby. When Arts and Crafts Hour began, Mrs. Peterson invited him to join them in the activity room. Children sat at round tables covered in construction paper, crayons scattered everywhere. Liam helped distribute supplies, careful not to show special attention to any particular child. What are you drawing? He asked generally, making his way around the room. A spaceship. My dog from before. A rainbow house. He paused near the twins' table, where Emma was creating what appeared to be an elaborate robot, while Leia worked intently on something he couldn't quite see. She kept glancing up at him, then back down at her paper. As he helped clean up afterward, Leia approached him hesitantly. She held a piece of paper behind her back, shifting from foot to foot. Mr. Cross, her voice was barely above a whisper, I made this for you. She thrust the paper forward quickly, as if afraid she might change her mind. Liam took it carefully, his breath catching as he looked at the crayon drawing. A tall figure stood smiling, surrounded by yellow rays like a sun. Above it, in careful letters, she had written, Mr. Bright. Because you made everything brighter today, Leia explained, her cheeks pink. The swing and the radio and, she gestured vaguely around the room. Thank you, Leia, Liam said softly, fighting to keep his voice steady. This is beautiful. I'll keep it safe. As the afternoon drew to a close, Liam pulled out his phone. Mrs. Peterson, would it be all right if I took some photos for the company newsletter, showing how Cross Industries is involved with the community? Of course, she began gathering children. Everyone who wants to be in the picture, come stand by Mr. Cross. Liam positioned himself carefully, making sure he was surrounded by enough children that it wouldn't seem odd when he specifically included the twins. Emma bounced over immediately, while Leia needed gentle encouragement from Mrs. Peterson. Smile, everyone. Liam held his phone up, capturing several shots. In each one, he made sure the twins were clearly visible, their faces well lit and in focus. Perfect. Thank you all for letting me help today. Later that night in his home office, Liam sent the best photos to Marcus. His hands shook slightly as he typed the accompanying message, got what we needed. Clear shots of both girls. Marcus's reply came quickly, "Good work. I'll have the lab process these immediately. Should have results within 48 hours. Liam set his phone down and pulled out Leia's drawing. He studied it for a long moment, then carefully placed it in his desk drawer alongside the old photographs of his family. 2 days. In 2 days, he would know for certain if his impossible hope was real. The waiting had begun. The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Liam's corner office, but he barely noticed its warmth. His eyes kept drifting to his phone, willing it to ring. 2 days, Marcus had said. Each minute stretched like an hour, each hour like an eternity. Papers requiring his signature piled up on his desk. His secretary, Mrs. Chen, had stopped trying to schedule meetings after he'd missed 3 in a row, lost in old photographs spread across his desk when she'd come to fetch him. Liam picked up a worn photo, its edges soft from years of handling. Evelyn sat in a hospital bed, her face tired but radiant, holding 2 tiny bundles wrapped in pink. Her smile, caught forever in that moment, made his chest ache. "They're perfect," she had whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Our little miracles." The memory of their newborn cries echoed in his mind, mixing with the remembered sound of Evelyn's laughter. He could still feel the weight of them in his arms, so small, so precious. Leia had gripped his finger with surprising strength, while Emma had simply stared up at him with unfocused eyes. His coffee grew cold, untouched. Lunch came and went. The sky outside shifted from morning blue to afternoon gold, but Liam remained trapped in memories. The fire that had taken everything from him played on repeat in his mind, the smoke, the chaos, the desperate search. They'd found no bodies in the wreckage, but the investigators had said the heat had been intense enough to. His phone buzzed. Liam grabbed it so quickly he nearly dropped it. "Marcus?" "Not yet," his investigator replied. "Just checking if you want me to deliver the results in person when they come in." "Yes," Liam said immediately. "No matter what time, just come straight to my office." The second day crawled by even slower than the first. Liam gave up any pretense of working. He paced his office, ordered files about the orphanage, about the fire, about anything that might help him understand how this was possible. His daughters, if they were his daughters, had been right there all along, just across the city. The sun had begun to set when Marcus finally arrived. Liam's hands trembled as he buzzed him in, watching the investigator's face for any hint of the news he carried. Marcus walked in slowly, his expression carefully neutral. He carried a thick manila envelope. "Well?" Liam's voice cracked on the single word. Marcus placed the envelope on Liam's desk. "I had the lab run the tests twice to be absolutely certain." He pulled out several papers covered in scientific data and charts. "The results are conclusive. 99.9% match. Those girls are your daughters." Liam's legs gave out. He collapsed into his chair, the world spinning around him. His daughters, alive. The truth he'd hoped for but barely dared to believe slammed into him with physical force. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" "I'm still piecing that together," Marcus said, his voice gentle. "There are irregularities in the hospital records from the night of the fire. Signs of tampering. Someone wanted it to look like they didn't survive." A roar built in Liam's ears. Someone had taken his daughters, hidden them, let him believe they were dead for 6 years while they grew up in an orphanage. Rage and grief warred inside him, making his vision blur. "Who?" he demanded. "Who did this?" "I'm following several leads," Marcus said. "But Liam, we need to be careful. Whoever did this went to a lot of trouble to separate you from your daughters. If they realize you've discovered the truth." The implication hung heavy in the air. His daughters could be in danger again. "What do you suggest?" "Keep visiting the orphanage as you have been. Don't change your routine. Let me dig deeper. Find out who's behind this and why." We need to make sure we can protect them before we make any moves. Liam nodded slowly, his tactical mind taking over despite the emotional storm inside him. You're right. We do this carefully, properly. As twilight deepened into true night, Liam found himself driving to the orphanage. He parked across the street, staring at the iron gates that separated him from his children. The windows glowed warmly, and he could see small shadows moving behind the curtains, children getting ready for bed. His daughters were in there. Leia, with her quiet observations and gentle spirit. Emma, bold and bright and full of energy. Both of them so much like their mother, it made his heart crack open all over again. His fingers curled into fists. Every fiber of his being screamed to go in there, to gather them up and take them home where they belonged, to tell them the truth, to hold them close and never let go again. But Marcus was right. Someone had torn his family apart once before. Someone who might still be watching, waiting, ready to hurt his girls again if he moved too quickly. I'm here, he whispered into the gathering darkness. I found you, and I swear on your mother's memory, I will bring you home. But I'll do it right. I'll do it safely. A light went out in an upstairs window, then another. His daughters were going to sleep in their narrow orphanage beds, not knowing their father stood just outside, not knowing their whole world was about to change. Liam forced himself to start his car, forced himself to drive away. He had to be patient, had to be smart, had to protect them properly this time. He would come back tomorrow as planned, the helpful volunteer with his tools and cookies. He would keep earning their trust, keep watching over them from a distance. And while he did that, Marcus would unravel the mystery of who had stolen 6 years of their lives together. The time would come to bring his daughters home, but first, he had to make absolutely sure no one could ever take them from him again. Early morning light crept through the windows of Liam's private office as he paced back and forth, waiting for Marcus. His footsteps echoed against the hardwood floors, matching the rapid beating of his heart. When Marcus finally arrived, carrying a thick folder under his arm, Liam gestured him to sit in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Tell me everything, Liam said, his voice tight with barely contained emotion. What's our next move? Marcus placed the folder carefully on the desk, spreading out several documents. First, we need to be clear about what we can't do. Legally confronting the orphanage right now would be a mistake. Liam's jaw clenched. But they're my daughters. I have proof now. And that proof could trigger exactly the wrong response, Marcus explained, his tone gentle but firm. Think about it. If we storm in with lawyers and DNA results, what's the first thing they'll do? They'll follow standard protocol for disputed cases, which is they'll scatter the children to different foster homes for their protection. It's standard procedure when there's any hint of legal trouble or custody disputes. Marcus tapped a document outlining child protection protocols. The girls could end up anywhere in the state, maybe even further. We'd lose track of them completely. The color drained from Liam's face as he sank into his chair. The thought of losing his daughters again, just when he'd found them, made him feel physically ill. So, what do? We keep building trust. Keep volunteering. Make yourself an essential part of their world, but quietly, Marcus leaned forward. Meanwhile, I'll continue investigating who was behind their disappearance. We need to understand the whole picture before we make any legal moves. Liam nodded slowly, his strategic mind engaging despite his emotional turmoil. Agreed. I'll go back today. Over the next several days, Liam threw himself into his role at the orphanage with careful dedication. He arrived each morning with his toolbox and some new treat or activity for the children. The staff grew used to his presence, greeting him with warm smiles and grateful thanks for his help with various repairs. But it was the twins who truly marked his arrival as special. Each day, their faces would light up when they saw his car pull into the parking lot. They would race to the door, their footsteps thundering down the hallway, competing to be the first to greet him. Mr. Bright, they would call out, using the nickname that had stuck since Leia's drawing. Their enthusiasm made his heart swell and break simultaneously. He taught them chess, sitting patiently as they learned the moves. Emma approached it like a puzzle to be solved, while Leia carefully considered each piece's story. "The knight is like a hero," she would say, moving it across the board. "He can jump over others to save the king." When he wasn't playing games with them, Liam kept his hands busy with repairs. He fixed wobbly bookshelves, loose door knobs, and squeaky swings. The physical work helped him channel his emotions, especially when the girls would sit nearby, chattering about their day or asking him endless questions about tools and how things worked. He began bringing homemade lunches, enough to share with all the children, but always making sure to include the twins' favorites, peanut butter and banana sandwiches for Emma, turkey and cheese with the crusts cut off for Leia. He'd learned their preferences through careful observation, storing away every detail about his daughters like precious gems. One sunny afternoon, the orphanage organized a small picnic in their modest backyard. Children sprawled on checkered blankets, eating sandwiches and playing simple games. Liam sat with the twins, watching as they took turns telling him elaborate stories about cloud shapes in the sky. "That one looks like a dragon," Emma declared, pointing upward. "No, it's a horse with wings," Leia corrected, her voice dreamy. The peaceful moment shattered when Leia, jumping up to chase after a butterfly, tripped over the corner of the blanket. She fell hard on the concrete path, scraping her knee badly. The sound of her cry pierced Liam's heart like an arrow. Without thinking, without hesitation, he moved toward her. Leia reached for him instinctively, her small arms stretching out as tears streamed down her face. He gathered her close, cradling her against his chest as she sobbed. "Shoo, it's okay," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "Let's take a look at that knee, sweetheart." Emma hovered anxiously nearby as Liam carefully cleaned the scrape with his handkerchief. His hands were steady, but his heart raced at this intimate moment of caring for his daughter, something he should have been doing for the past 6 years. "You're the best daddy in the world," Emma declared suddenly, watching him tend to her sister. "I wish you were our real daddy." The words hit Liam like a physical blow. He forced himself to smile, though his vision blurred with unshed tears. That's very sweet of you to say, Emma." Leia's sobs had quieted to sniffles, but she still clung to his shirt. The trust in her eyes, the way both girls looked at him with such open affection, threatened to break his carefully maintained composure. I should get some more bandages," he managed to say, gently setting Leia down beside her sister. "I'll be right back." He walked away with measured steps, maintaining his calm appearance until he rounded the corner of the building. Then he leaned against the wall, pressing his palms against the rough brick, fighting to control his breathing. "The best daddy in the world." The words echoed in his mind, a blessing and a curse. He was their father, their real father, and he couldn't tell them. Couldn't hold them the way he desperately wanted to. Couldn't take them home where they belonged. But he would. The promise rose in his heart again, stronger than ever. "I will bring you home," he vowed silently. "Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I will make this right." The clock showed 2:37 a.m. as Liam examined hospital records and fire reports Marcus had obtained. Under the dim desk lamp, he searched for answers, his coffee mug nearly empty. Something about the official story had never felt right. The fire supposedly started from faulty wiring, but inconsistencies emerged. The hospital had passed a safety inspection just 2 weeks prior. The emergency response timeline revealed the fire alarms hadn't been faulty. They'd been deliberately disabled. Security reports showed multiple forced entry points. "This wasn't an accident, but arson," he whispered. Someone wanted chaos. At dawn, Marcus arrived with more files and a grim expression. "You found something," Liam said. Marcus nodded. "I traced payments to night shift workers through shell companies." He placed a photograph down, Oliver Cross, Liam's cousin. "Oliver?" Liam's voice faltered. He was next in line for the cross fortune before your daughters were born, Marcus explained. Liam remembered Oliver's gambling debts and disappearance after the fire. Marcus showed recent photos of Oliver looking haggard. He's in deep trouble with dangerous creditors. Then Marcus revealed worse news, legal paperwork showing Oliver knew the girls survived and was filing for custody, claiming Liam was unfit. He tried to kill my daughters, Liam said. He's responsible for their mother's death, and now he wants to take them. With his debts, controlling their trust funds would solve his problems, Marcus replied. Liam stood rigid with rage, thinking of his daughters' trusting faces. The race to protect them had begun, and this time, he wouldn't fail. The morning sun cast long shadows across the orphanage's worn brick facade as a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the entrance. Oliver Cross stepped out, adjusting his Italian silk tie and smoothing his perfectly tailored suit. His practiced smile gleamed as bright as his polished shoes. Mr. Cross, welcome to St. Mary's, the administrative assistant gushed, hurrying down the steps to greet him. We're so honored to have another philanthropist take interest in our children. Oliver's charm switched on like a well-oiled machine. Please call me Oliver, and the honor is all mine. Children are our future, after all. He reached into the car and pulled out several glossy gift bags. I brought a few small tokens for the little ones. The assistant's eyes widened at the designer logos on the bags. Oh, how generous. The children will be thrilled. From his carefully chosen parking spot across the street, Liam watched the scene unfold through tinted windows, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. Marcus sat beside him, documenting everything with a long-range camera. Easy, boss, Marcus murmured as Liam's jaw clenched audibly. We need to play this smart. Inside the orphanage, Oliver made his grand entrance to the playroom where the children were gathered for morning activities. He stood in the doorway, arms laden with gifts, beaming like Santa Claus himself. Good morning, everyone. I heard there were some wonderful children here who might enjoy some new toys. The reaction was immediate, excited squeals and clapping from most of the kids. But in the corner, Emma and Leah exchanged a quick glance before turning back to their puzzle, where Liam sat cross-legged beside them. Oliver's eyes locked onto the twins for just a moment before he began distributing presents with theatrical flair, remote-controlled cars for the boys, dolls for the girls, and, look at these building blocks. Liam fought to keep his expression neutral as he helped Emma fit another puzzle piece into place. His daughter's instinctive wariness of Oliver gave him a fierce pride, even as worry knotted his stomach. Would you like to see what's in the special bags I brought? Oliver asked, approaching their corner with two identical pink gift bags. Leah shifted closer to Liam's side. Emma looked up but didn't reach for the offered bag. It's okay, Liam said softly, though the words tasted like ash in his mouth. Let's see what he brought. With hesitant hands, the girls accepted the bags. Inside were expensive-looking teddy bears wearing silk ribbons. Thank you, Leah whispered, setting the bear aside rather than hugging it like the other children did with their gifts. Oliver's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. You're very welcome, sweetheart. You know, you remind me of someone I used to know. Liam's hand instinctively moved to rest on Leah's shoulder. The girls were just showing me their progress on this puzzle. Weren't you, Emma? Emma nodded eagerly, holding up a piece. Mr. Liam helps us with the hard parts. He's the best at puzzles. Is he now? Oliver's voice dripped with false warmth. How wonderful that Mr. Liam spends so much time here. Almost like family, isn't it? The loaded comment hung in the air between the two men. Liam met Oliver's gaze steadily, refusing to flinch from the implicit threat. The morning progressed with Oliver positioning himself as the generous benefactor, posing for photos with groups of children, chatting with staff about funding needs, and always keeping one eye on the twins. During group story time, he chose to read from a book about family, his voice syrupy sweet as he emphasized words like belonging and forever home. Leia and Emma remained close to Liam throughout the activities, their usual bubbly personalities subdued. When Oliver suggested they all play Duck Duck Goose, the girls participated but consistently ran to Liam for safety, using him as their home base. During lunch, Oliver made a show of discussing charity initiatives with the staff while shooting knowing looks in Liam's direction. The message was clear: he held power here, and he intended to use it. "Mr. Liam," Emma whispered during the meal. "I don't like his smile. It's not real like yours." Liam squeezed her hand under the table. "Sometimes people wear masks, sweetheart. It's good that you can see through them." As the afternoon wound down, Oliver requested a private meeting with Mrs. Henderson, the orphanage matron. Liam, who had been preparing to leave, caught the triumphant glance Oliver threw his way before closing the office door. Through the thin walls, Liam could hear Oliver's smooth voice. "I've already begun the adoption process. My lawyers have prepared all the necessary documentation." Mrs. Henderson's surprised response was clear. "This is quite sudden, Mr. Cross. We have procedures, waiting periods." Of course," Oliver replied smoothly. "But given my family's standing and resources, I'm sure we can expedite things. The papers show I'm more than qualified, financially and otherwise, to provide these girls with everything they need." Liam's blood ran cold. He knew Oliver's resources included expert forgers and corrupt officials. The documentation would be flawless, and Oliver's influence could push everything through before Liam could safely reveal his own claim. Mrs. Henderson's voice held a note of concern. "The girls seem quite attached to Mr. Cross, Liam, I mean. He's been volunteering here for weeks." "Ah, yes, my cousin," Oliver said silkily. "A busy man, though, isn't he? Running a corporation, hardly suitable for raising children. Now, I've recently stepped back from business to focus on family. These girls need stability, don't you agree?" Liam forced himself to walk away before his anger betrayed him. In the hallway, he passed the twins' latest art project, a crayon drawing of himself holding their hands under a bright sun. The sight of it twisted in his chest like a knife. Oliver had made his move, and it was devastatingly clever. With forged papers and carefully crafted influence, he could have the girls removed from the orphanage within weeks. And Liam, bound by the need to protect them from the truth about the fire until he had concrete proof, could do nothing to stop it through official channels. As he left the building, Liam caught one last glimpse of Oliver through the office window, watching him with that same knowing smirk. The message was clear: checkmate. The morning sun cast long shadows through the orphanage's windows as Liam arranged blocks with the twins in their favorite corner of the playroom. His mind was elsewhere, running through legal strategies and contingency plans, when Emma's small voice pulled him back to the present. "Mr. Liam," she asked, her fingers fidgeting with a wooden block, "can we tell you something important?" Liam set down the tower piece he'd been holding. "Of course you can. You can tell me anything." Leia scooted closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The new man, Mr. Oliver. He makes us feel cold inside, like when the heater breaks in winter." Emma nodded vigorously. "Even when he smiles really big. Especially then." Liam's heart clenched, but he kept his expression calm and attentive. "What do you mean by cold inside like?" Leia searched for the right words, her small face scrunched in concentration. "Like when you see a spider in your shoe, or when thunder is really loud at night." "Scary," Emma added simply, clutching her bear closer. Leia's eyes filled with tears. "Will you still come see us if we get taken away?" The question hit Liam like a physical blow. "Taken away?" "We heard Mrs. Henderson talking," Emma explained. "She said Mr. Oliver wants to take us to a new home, but we don't want to go. We want to stay here with you." Liam took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Listen to me, both of you. Sometimes grown-ups can be tricky. They might try to keep secrets that aren't good secrets. Like when Billy stole cookies and made us promise not to tell? Emma asked. Similar, yes, but more serious. Liam leaned in closer, his voice gentle but firm. There are good secrets, like surprise birthday presents, and there are bad secrets, ones that make you feel scared or wrong inside. Those are what I call truth traps. The girls listened intently, their matching brown eyes fixed on his face. Truth traps are when someone tries to make you keep quiet about things that should be talked about, Liam continued. Like if someone hurts you, or makes you feel afraid, or tells you to lie. Leia's face lit up with understanding. Like how Mr. Oliver told us not to mention the money he promised if we're good girls and go with him. Liam's jaw tightened, but he maintained his calm demeanor. Exactly like that. That's definitely a truth trap. Emma sat up straighter, her mechanical mind clearly turning. We should catch him in his trap. Like in Mouse Trap, but with words instead of cheese. Leia grabbed her sister's arm excitedly. The recorder. Remember the one we found in the donation box? Emma jumped up and ran to their shared cubby, returning with a small digital voice recorder. We were saving it for special stories, but this is more important. Liam watched in amazement as the twins quickly formulated their plan. Their earlier fear transformed into determined focus. We can put it in Brownie, Leia declared, pointing to her teddy bear, the one Oliver had given them. He always wants to talk to us when we play with his presents. And we'll act super sweet, Emma added, already practicing an angelic smile. Like we do when we want extra dessert. Liam felt a surge of pride mixed with concern. Are you sure about this? You don't have to. We want to help, Leia said firmly. You always help us. Now it's our turn. They spent the next few minutes carefully securing the small recorder inside the teddy bear's stuffing, making sure the microphone remained unobstructed. The girls then positioned themselves in the reading corner, deliberately playing with Oliver's gifts. Right on schedule, Oliver appeared for his daily visit. His eyes gleamed when he saw the twins cuddling his presents. Well, I'm so glad you're enjoying the bears, he said, crouching down beside them. They're special bears, you know. Very expensive. They're so soft, Leia cooed, playing her part perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Emma hugged her bear tight. Will we get more presents at your house? Oliver's smile widened. Oh, many more. Once the courts hand you over, once you come home with me, you'll have everything you could want. Will we be rich like you? Leia asked innocently. Oliver chuckled, lowering his voice conspiratorially. You'll make me even richer, my dears. The trust fund alone, well, let's just say you two are worth your weight in gold. The girls maintained their sweet facades, but Liam, watching from across the room, could see their small hands gripping the bears tightly. And Mr. Liam won't visit anymore, Emma's voice wavered slightly. Oh, no, we can't have that, Oliver said smoothly. He's much too busy for children, but you won't need him once everything's settled. I've already arranged it all, judges, paperwork, everything. Just a few more days of pretending to be a happy volunteer, and then he'll be gone. The rest of the afternoon passed in a tense dance of pretense. The girls maintained their act admirably, while Liam forced himself to stay in character as the helpful volunteer. Oliver continued his show of benevolent generosity, though his smirks toward Liam grew more pronounced with each passing hour. When evening fell and it was time to leave, Leia approached Liam for their usual goodbye hug. As she wrapped her arms around his neck, she slipped something into his jacket pocket with surprising dexterity. Check your pocket when you're alone, she whispered, then skipped back to join her sister. Later that night, in the silence of his home office, Liam reached into his pocket and found the small voice recorder. His hands trembled slightly as he pressed play. The recording was crystal clear. Oliver's voice emerged from the tiny speaker, each damning word perfectly captured, the references to trust funds, the admission of manipulating courts and paperwork, the casual mention of using the girls for financial gain. Most importantly, there were subtle hints about arrangements being made, evidence that could lead investigators to discover his network of corrupt officials. Liam sat back in his chair, overwhelmed by the weight of what his daughters had accomplished. Their quick thinking and bravery had provided exactly what he needed, concrete evidence of Oliver's true intentions, recorded in his own words. He thought of their small faces, so determined to help, so resilient in the face of fear. They had turned Oliver's own gift against him, transformed their fear into action, and trusted Liam enough to share their plan. In that moment, they had shown themselves to be truly their mother's daughters, clever, brave, and fiercely loyal. The evidence would need to be handled carefully, presented through proper channels to the right authorities. But for the first time since discovering Oliver's scheme, Liam felt real hope. His daughters had given him the key to their freedom, wrapped in the stuffing of a teddy bear. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Gregory's law office as Liam strode in, his footsteps purposeful on the polished hardwood floor. The recording felt heavy in his pocket, weighted with promise and possibility. Gregory looked up from his desk, his wire-rimmed glasses catching the light. "Liam, good morning. You sounded urgent on the phone." "I have it, Gregory." Concrete evidence against Oliver. Liam pulled out the small voice recorder and placed it carefully on the mahogany desk between them. The girls managed to record him admitting everything. Gregory's eyebrows rose slightly as he picked up the device. The children did this? They're clever. More clever than Oliver gave them credit for. Liam couldn't keep the pride from his voice. "Listen." They sat in silence as Oliver's damning words filled the office. Gregory's face remained carefully neutral, though his fingers tapped steadily against his desk calendar. When the recording finished, Gregory cleared his throat. "This is significant. Oliver clearly implicates himself in multiple ways." He adjusted his tie, a habit Liam had noticed whenever his lawyer was deep in thought. "I'll file an emergency injunction today. This should effectively block any custody attempts on his part. How quickly can we move?" Liam leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly. "I'll handle it personally," Gregory assured him, sliding the recorder into his desk drawer. "Given the nature of the evidence, we should be able to fast-track proceedings. I'll call you the moment the paperwork is filed." Liam stood, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. "Thank you, Gregory. I knew I could count on you." A slight smile crossed Gregory's face. "Of course. That's what I'm here for." Later that afternoon, Liam arrived at the orphanage carrying a new chess set for the girls. The familiar sounds of children playing echoed through the halls, but his attention focused immediately on two particular voices. "Mr. Liam." Emma called out, running toward him with Leia close behind. "Did you listen to it? Did it help?" He knelt down to their level, smiling warmly. "I did, and it helped very much. You both were so brave and smart." Leia's eyes searched his face. "Is the cold man going away now?" "We're working on it," Liam assured them, unpacking the chess set. "But right now, who wants to learn about knights and castles?" The afternoon passed peacefully as Liam taught the twins the basics of chess. Emma quickly grasped the mechanical movements of each piece, while Leia seemed more interested in creating stories about the piece's adventures across the board. Meanwhile, across town in a dimly lit bar, Gregory sat across from Oliver, the recorder placed between them like a loaded weapon. "This could ruin everything," Oliver hissed, his usually smooth demeanor cracking. "Those little brats." "Calm down," Gregory cut in, his voice low and controlled. "I've already begun damage control. The recording won't see the inside of a courtroom." Oliver's eyes narrowed. "You're certain?" "I've spent years handling Liam's legal affairs. I know every weakness in his position." Gregory took a slow sip of his bourbon. "I've already prepared alternative documentation suggesting the recording was doctored. Additionally, I've backdated several character witnesses questioning Liam's stability and fitness as a guardian." "Why are you helping me, Gregory?" "Really?" Oliver studied him carefully. Gregory's professional mask slipped slightly, revealing a flash of long-harbored resentment. 15 years I've worked for him. 15 years of watching him build his empire, barely acknowledging my role. Do you know he still pays me the same rate he did when I started? Meanwhile, he throws money at charities, at art collections, at anything but the people who actually keep his business running. And my offer? Your offer is significantly more appealing. Gregory straightened his tie again. The paperwork will be filed within the hour. By the time Liam realizes what's happened, it will be too late. Back at the orphanage, Liam watched as Emma successfully completed her first checkmate against her sister. Leia didn't seem to mind losing, more interested in creating an elaborate story about how her queen had secretly escaped to another kingdom. Mr. Liam? Emma asked suddenly, her small face serious. When the cold man goes away, will you still visit us? The question caught him off guard. Of course I will. Promise? Leia pressed, reaching for his hand. Even if we're not special anymore. Liam felt his throat tighten. You'll always be special. Nothing could keep me from visiting you. The girls exchanged a look that seemed to hold volumes of unspoken communication, something Liam had noticed they often did. Finally, Emma nodded, apparently satisfied with whatever silent conclusion they'd reached. As evening approached, Liam reluctantly said goodbye to the twins, his mind already turning to the legal proceedings he believed were in motion. He drove home through the gathering dusk, allowing himself to imagine a future where his daughters were finally safe in their rightful home. The sharp knock at his front door came just as he was pouring himself a celebratory drink. He opened it to find Marcus standing there, his face ashen. We have a problem, Marcus said without preamble, pushing past Liam into the house. A serious one. What's wrong? The glass in Liam's hand suddenly felt too heavy. Marcus pulled out his tablet, his fingers flying across the screen. I was monitoring the court filings as usual. Gregory submitted paperwork today, but not what we expected. He turned the screen toward Liam. Look. Liam's eyes scanned the documents, his expression darkening with each line. This can't be right. These dates are wrong. These statements, he looked up sharply. These are forgeries. It gets worse, Marcus continued grimly. Gregory has submitted a complete custody petition on Oliver's behalf. He's included psychological evaluations questioning your mental stability, financial records suggesting mismanagement, even character witnesses claiming you've shown erratic behavior since your wife's death. Gregory did this, Liam's voice was barely a whisper. The hearing is set for 2 days from now. Unless we can prove these documents are falsified and find new evidence supporting your claim. Marcus didn't need to finish the sentence. Liam sank into his chair, the untouched drink forgotten. The weight of Gregory's betrayal preserved down on him like a physical force. All those years of trust, of shared confidences, of believing he had someone fighting in his corner, it had all been a carefully constructed lie. The girls, he managed finally. If Oliver gets custody, he'll have full legal control, Marcus confirmed. And given the nature of Gregory's filings, you could be barred from any contact with them. The thought of Leia and Emma in Oliver's custody, being used as pawns in his schemes, made Liam's blood run cold. He thought of their brave faces that afternoon, of their careful plan with the recorder, of their trust in him to make everything right. How much time do we have? He asked, his voice hardening with determination. The hearing is scheduled for Thursday morning. That gives us exactly 48 hours to uncover proof of Gregory's deception and build a new case. The morning sun had barely crept over the horizon when Liam burst through the doors of Gregory's office. His footsteps echoed through the empty hallways of the building, rage fueling each stride. He found Gregory already at his desk, calmly sorting through papers as if it were any other day. How long? Liam's voice was dangerously quiet. How long have you been working against me? Gregory looked up slowly, adjusting his tie with practiced precision. Ah, Liam, I was wondering when you'd figure it out. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Though I must admit, I expected it would take longer. Answer the question. Liam's hands gripped the edge of Gregory's desk, his knuckles white. Years, Gregory replied simply, leaning back in his chair. Years of watching you throw away opportunities, waste resources on pointless charitable ventures, all while treating me like some disposable clerk. His professional mask finally cracked, revealing the bitterness beneath. Did you know I haven't had a raise in 5 years? While you've been building your empire, I've been stuck in the same position with the same salary. Liam's jaw clenched. This is about money. You sold out my daughters for a better paycheck. Oh, it's about far more than money, Gregory stood, matching Liam's stance. It's about recognition, respect, everything you've taken for granted. He gestured to the stack of papers on his desk. And now it's about justice. The documents have been filed, the evidence carefully crafted. There's nothing you can do. I'll fight this, Liam growled. I'll expose every lie, every forged document. With what time? Gregory's smile turned cruel. The hearing is tomorrow morning. Every piece of evidence you might have used has been systematically dismantled. Your character has been questioned, your stability doubted. Even that clever little recording your daughters made, he pulled the device from his drawer and dropped it into the wastebasket. Inadmissible, possibly tampered with, according to the experts I've lined up. Liam's world tilted on its axis. The magnitude of Gregory's betrayal, the careful dismantling of his case, the methodical destruction of his chances to reclaim his daughters, it all crashed over him like a wave. They're innocent children, Liam said, his voice breaking. Whatever grievance you have with me. Should have thought about that before you took them for granted, too, Gregory cut in. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a court appearance to prepare for. Liam stood there for a long moment, staring at the man he trusted for so many years. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out, Gregory's satisfied smirk burning into his back. The day passed in a blur of desperate phone calls and futile legal consultations. By evening, Liam had accepted the brutal truth, there was no legal path left. His only option now was the hardest one, complete honesty with his daughters. The orphanage garden was peaceful in the fading sunset, roses nodding their heavy heads in the gentle breeze. Liam sat on a worn wooden bench, Leia and Emma on either side of him. They had come running when they saw him, as always, but something in his expression made them quiet. Girls, he began, his voice rough, I need to tell you something very important. He took a deep breath, looking at their trusting faces. It's about who I really am and why I've been coming here so often. Leia tilted her head, her eyes searching his face. Are you okay, Mr. Liam? He swallowed hard. I'm not just Mr. Liam. I'm your father. The words hung in the air like smoke. Emma jerked away from him as if burned, while Leia's eyes went wide with confusion. What? Emma's voice was small and sharp. What do you mean? I found out a few weeks ago, Liam continued, his heart breaking at their reactions. I had tests done, proper medical tests. You're my daughters. The fire 6 years ago, it wasn't an accident. Someone took you from me, made me believe you were gone. You knew. Leia's voice trembled. All this time, you knew. Tears began rolling down her cheeks. You were playing with us, bringing presents, acting like a stranger, Emma finished, standing up. Her small face was twisted with anger and hurt. You tricked us. No, sweetheart. I was trying to protect you, Liam reached for her, but Emma stepped back. I needed to be careful to make sure you were safe before. Stop. Emma shouted, her hands balled into fists. Stop lying. Everyone always lies. She turned and ran toward the building, disappearing inside. Leia stood more slowly, her tears falling faster now. You made us trust you, she whispered. You made us think you were our friend. She backed away from him, shaking her head. But you were just pretending, like everyone else. Leia, please, Liam's voice cracked. I love you both so much. Everything I did was to keep you safe. But Leia had already turned away, following her sister inside. The garden door closed behind her with a soft click that felt louder than any slam. Liam sat there as the sun disappeared completely, leaving him in growing darkness. Eventually, he made his way to the front steps of the orphanage, sinking down heavily. Above him, stars began appearing one by one in the darkening sky. Evelyn, he whispered, his voice breaking on her name. I'm losing them all over again. I don't know what to do. He looked up at the vast expanse of stars, desperate for answers. I need a miracle. Please give me a miracle. The night remained silent, offering no response. Liam sat alone on the cold steps, the weight of his daughter's betrayed faces pressing down on his heart like stones. The morning sun cast long shadows across Liam's desk as he scrolled through his emails, his eyes heavy from another sleepless night. The court hearing loomed just hours away, and despair sat like lead in his stomach. A soft ping drew his attention to a new message from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read simply, "The truth about the hospital fire." Liam's hand trembled as he clicked open the email. Attached was a scanned image of a handwritten letter. The paper was yellowed with age, the handwriting neat but shaky. He began to read. Dear Mr. Cross, my name is Margaret Wilson. I was the head nurse at St. Mary's Hospital the night of the fire 6 years ago. What happened that night has haunted me ever since, and I can no longer keep silent. The fire was no accident. I saw 2 men disabling the alarms and setting fires at multiple points. In the chaos that followed, I found 2 baby girls in the nursery, your daughters. Something felt wrong about the whole situation, so I took them to safety through the service entrance. I made sure they were placed in care, but I was too afraid to come forward then. The men who started the fire had threatened the staff. Now I'm retired, and I've learned that one of those men is trying to claim custody of the girls. I cannot let this injustice stand. I am willing to testify to everything I saw that night. The girls deserve to be with their real father. Sincerely, Margaret Wilson. Liam's heart pounded as he immediately dialed Marcus' number. Marcus, I need you to track someone down right now. Within an hour, Marcus had traced Margaret Wilson to a small coastal town 3 hours away. The retired nurse lived in a modest cottage overlooking the sea, tending to a garden full of bright flowers. Marcus's car pulled up to the cottage just as the morning fog was lifting. Liam barely waited for the car to stop before jumping out, his tie loose around his neck. Margaret Wilson stood at her garden gate, a small woman with silver hair and kind eyes that carried the weight of long-held secrets. I've been expecting you, she said softly, opening the gate. Come inside. We don't have much time. Her living room was cozy, filled with photographs and the smell of fresh-baked bread. Margaret settled into an old armchair, her hands folded in her lap. I should have come forward years ago, she began, her voice steady despite her age. But those men, they made it clear what would happen to anyone who talked. She looked directly at Liam. One of them was your cousin, Mr. Cross. Oliver. I recognized him from the hospital board meetings. Liam leaned forward, his voice urgent. Mrs. Wilson, will you testify today? She nodded firmly. That's why I wrote the letter. I'm old, Mr. Cross, and I've carried this burden long enough. Those girls deserve to know the truth, and you deserve to have your daughters back. Meanwhile, at the orphanage, Leia and Emma sat huddled in their favorite window seat, still processing the revelation about Liam. The morning sun warmed their faces as they watched other children playing in the yard below. Did you hear? A boy's voice drifted up from the hallway. The rich man is taking the twins away today. The scary one with the fake smile. Another child responded, I heard Miss Jenny say he's got all the papers ready. Emma's hand found Leia's, squeezing tight. The bad man, she whispered, remembering Oliver's cold eyes and false warmth. Leia nodded slowly, her mind racing back to all the moments with Liam, Mr. Bright, as she'd named him in her drawing. The way he always smelled like cookies and safety. How he taught them chess with infinite patience, letting them win more often than not. The gentle way he bandaged her knee after she fell. Emma, she said quietly, maybe Mr. Liam, Dad, was telling the truth. Remember how Oliver made us feel cold inside? But with Mr. Liam, we felt safe, Emma finished, her voice small, like we belonged. The courthouse loomed large and imposing as people began filing in for the hearing. Oliver stood at the front of the courtroom, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, a confident smile playing at his lips. Gregory stood beside him, arranging papers with methodical precision, occasionally glancing at the door. The room was nearly full when Liam entered. He walked slowly, his shoulders straight, despite the weight of everything riding on this moment. Behind him came Margaret Wilson, her small frame carrying a dignity that drew all eyes to her. She might have been frail, but there was steel in her spine and truth in her eyes. At the back of the courtroom, Leia and Emma sat close together, their hands clasped tightly. They wore their best dresses, the ones Liam had brought them last week, though they hadn't known then he was their father. Their eyes were wide but determined as they watched the adults gathering at the front. Emma leaned close to her sister. "Do you think it will be okay?" Leia squeezed her hand. "Mr. Bright, Dad, he always fixes things. Remember the swing? And my knee? And the bookshelf?" Emma added softly, "He made it stronger than before." They fell silent as the bailiff called for everyone to rise. The judge entered, her robe swishing as she took her seat. The girls held on to each other tighter, their small faces set with determination. Whatever happened next would change everything, and they knew it. Oliver's confident smile faltered slightly as he noticed Margaret Wilson. Gregory's hand stilled on his papers, his eyes narrowing at the unexpected addition to their carefully planned proceedings. But Liam stood tall, drawing strength from the truth that was finally about to be told, and from the presence of his daughters behind him. The bailiff's voice rang out clear and strong. "The custody hearing of Leia and Emma Cross is now in session." The courtroom fell silent as Margaret Wilson took the stand, her silver hair neatly pinned back, her posture straight despite her years. She placed her hand on the Bible, swore her oath, and began to speak in a clear, unwavering voice. "I was head nurse at St. Mary's Hospital the night of the fire," she testified, her eyes meeting the judge's steady gaze. "I saw Mr. Oliver Cross and another man disabling the fire alarms. They thought no one was watching, but I was doing my midnight rounds." Oliver shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his confident smile slipping. Gregory frantically scribbled notes, his forehead beating with sweat. "The babies, Leia and Emma Cross, were in my care that night," Margaret continued. "When the fire started, I knew it wasn't an accident. I'd overheard threats, whispered conversations. I couldn't let those innocent children," her voice caught for a moment before steadying again. "I took them through the service entrance, made sure they were safe." The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Wilson, why didn't you come forward before now?" "Fear, Your Honor. Oliver Cross made it clear what would happen to anyone who spoke up. But I've carried this burden long enough. These girls deserve to know their true father." Liam's lawyer stepped forward, holding up a small recording device. "Your Honor, we'd also like to present evidence of Mr. Oliver Cross's recent attempts to manipulate this situation." The recording played clearly through the courtroom speakers, Oliver's voice, smug and unguarded, bragging to the twins about how much money they'd bring him. Several jurors frowned, shaking their heads. Furthermore, Liam's lawyer continued, "We have evidence of extensive document forgery." He presented a series of papers, pointing out discrepancies in dates, signatures, and official seals. Mr. Gregory Thompson, acting as Oliver Cross's attorney, falsified these records to undermine Mr. Liam Cross's parental rights. Gregory's face had gone pale. He stood up, stammering. "Your Honor, I object. These allegations are supported by extensive evidence," the judge cut in sharply. She held up a thick folder, including bank records showing suspicious transfers between your account and Mr. Oliver Cross's offshore holdings. Oliver stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is ridiculous. You can't possibly." "Sit down, Mr. Cross," the judge commanded, her voice stern. "Your position grows more precarious by the minute." The evidence continued mounting, witness statements from hospital staff, security camera footage from the night of the fire, forensic analysis of the forged documents. Oliver and Gregory's carefully constructed scheme crumbled piece by piece. When the last piece of evidence had been presented, the judge turned her attention to the back of the courtroom. "Leah and Emma Cross," she called gently. "Would you like to speak?" The twins looked at each other, squeezing hands tight. Then Leah stood up, pulling Emma with her. They walked to the front of the courtroom together, their matching sundresses swishing softly. Leah spoke first, her voice small but clear. "Mr. Bright, Mr. Cross, was our dad before we even knew it." She glanced at Liam, her eyes bright with tears. "He fixed things when they were broken. He taught us chess and brought us cookies and never, ever made us feel scared." Emma stepped closer to her sister. "He made us feel safe when no one else did," she added firmly. "And when the bad man came," she looked directly at Oliver, "Dad taught us about truth and protecting ourselves." The judge smiled gently at the girls. "Thank you both for being so brave." She turned to face the courtroom, her expression growing serious. "Given the overwhelming evidence of criminal conspiracy, attempted kidnapping, and document forgery, I am ordering the immediate arrest of Oliver Cross and Gregory Thompson." As bailiffs moved to handcuff the two men, the judge continued. "Furthermore, I grant full custody of Leah and Emma Cross to their biological father, Liam Cross, effective immediately." She brought down her gavel with a sharp crack. "Court is adjourned." The twins ran to Liam, who knelt down to catch them in his arms. He held them close, breathing in the scent of their hair, feeling their small hearts beating against his chest. "Let's go home," he whispered. That evening, as stars began appearing in the velvet sky, Liam led the girls into their new home, the house he'd built years ago, dreaming of the family he'd thought he'd lost forever. The rooms were warm and welcoming, filled with soft lights and comfortable furniture. "This is your room," he said softly, opening a door to reveal two identical beds with colorful quilts and stuffed animals. "I hope you like it. We can change anything you want." The girls explored the room with wide eyes, touching the quilts, examining the bookshelf filled with stories, discovering the toy chest in the corner. "It's perfect," Leah whispered, running her hand along the smooth wooden headboard. "Like it was waiting for us," Emma added, hugging a plush rabbit to her chest. Liam helped them change into new pajamas, then tucked them into their beds, making sure each girl had exactly the right number of stuffed animals arranged around them. He switched on the star-shaped nightlight, casting a gentle glow across the room. On the mantel nearby, a photograph of Evelyn smiled down at them, her eyes bright with joy, her hands resting on her pregnant belly. Liam paused before it, touching the frame gently. "We're finally whole again," he whispered to her image. From their beds, two sleepy voices called out in unison. "Good night, Daddy." Tears fell freely down Liam's cheeks as he answered, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. "Good night, my loves." If you enjoyed the story of Liam, I hand-picked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.